Hello everyone and welcome to the second episode of Retro Horror Games Quest, the series where I go through the history of horror games and share my findings and opinions with you. In the last episode, we took a look at 4 Atari 2600 games, but today we are moving forward into the future of 1984. And yeah, sorry, I did say that this episode would also feature 4 games, but due to time constraints, I was forced to divide it into 2 episodes, so there's 2 games in this one and 2 games in the next one. So this time around, we'll be taking a look at 2 different games in 2 different consoles. That's the Commodore 64 and the NES. So yeah, we finally say goodbye to the crude graphics and sounds of yore and take a step forward into the future. Also, yeah, I'm fighting some kind of weird allergy here, so sorry about that. So let's not waste any more time and dive into that first game. The Evil Dead released in 1984 on the Commodore 64 and was developed by Palace Virgin Gold and wait, didn't I say we were going to say goodbye to the crude graphics of yore? Why does this game look like an Atari 2600 game? I swear, I've seen a lot of other Commodore 64 games and they looked a whole lot better than this. What happened? It doesn't look good, to be honest. I guess it does look a little bit better than the Atari 2600 games we looked at in the last episode, but in general, it is a pretty ugly game. There's no menu to speak of here, you are just shown a list of high scores and that's it. If you leave the menu alone for a few seconds, you are thrown into an intro cutscene cum tutorial, and the text takes a million years to roll by, so let me just go through it all quickly for you. Welcome to the tragic tale of the Evil Dead. Let me start at the beginning. A million periods. My name is Ashley. Wait, I'm pretty sure Ash's full name in the Evil Dead movies is Ashley with an E? I thought this game was supposed to be licensed? Weird. In case you haven't yet realized, you're looking at me from above. Oh, so that's what that blob of pixels is. Thanks! I'm standing here in a shack which is buried deep in the heart of the Tennessee woodlands. Out front, there's a porch with a rusty swing. Here in the main room, I've lit a fire in the fireplace. It's been years since anyone lived here, so there's no furniture except a couple of old beds. So why am I here? Well, it all started off as a simple vacation away from it all in the woodlands. I came here with my 4 buddies. A million periods. Here they are. A million periods. Cheryl. A million. Okay, I'll stop. Linda. Scott and Shelley. What we didn't realize was that the shack is haunted by the spirits of the Evil Dead, which will try to turn my friends one by one into nasty green mutants, all hell-bent on attacking me. It's pretty convenient that they're not trying to turn you into a nasty green mutant, hey? I can defend myself by using weapons, which appear and disappear at various places in the house. Each of them gives me a different amount of energy, but beware. If I attack a mutant, it will come apart, and each bit will try to get me. Only you can help me survive. Start by guiding me with your joystick port 2. To close up. Okay, we get it. It's just going to teach me how to play from here on out. We don't need to go through it. Yeah, it's weird that Ash's name is wrong in this game. Especially since all the other buddies' names are correct. I do like that they added the swing, just like in the movie. I guess I should also mention that I really like the Evil Dead series. Well, maybe except for the remake. I know a lot of people are very fond of the remake, but I don't really appreciate how they removed every ounce of comedy from it. One of my favorite things about the original movies is that they were creepy as hell, but also funny as hell sometimes. But movie aside, let's talk about the actual game, shall we? The objective here is to try and protect your friends while the enemies try to turn them into zombies, or green mutants, whatever you want to call them. If they turn, they will try to attack you, and killing them will make them explode into different body parts, which are, in turn, different enemies for you to deal with. We have the sentient legs, arms, and a torso. Cute. You're supposed to survive a certain amount of enemy waves until the Book of the Dead appears, and you must quickly grab it and throw it in the fireplace to win the game. The controls are as basic as possible. You use the joystick to move around in the 4 cardinal directions, and use the fire button to interact with stuff and attack the enemies. As for interactions, you can open and close doors and windows and grab weapons that appear and disappear randomly in the map, as stated by the tutorial earlier. It sounds easier than it is, though. Moving around per se is not that big of a problem. The problems arise when you get near walls. The game treats your character's collision as a rectangle, so if you are facing a wall dead on, you cannot turn to either side.
Hello? Help? I can't get out of here.
you need to back up and then turn. It's incredibly annoying, and it makes going through doors a living nightmare sometimes. Not to mention that you can collide with your buddies, who have the same kind of collision. I think you can imagine how fun that is. And that brings us to the primary system of the game: energy. Every step you take, every interaction, every attack will waste some of your energy. You start with 10,000 energy points, and believe me, I know it sounds like a lot, but due to how much energy everything in this game makes you waste, those 10,000 energy points drain very quickly. The tutorial mentions that picking up weapons gives you energy, but that's just a flat-out lie. Attacking with a weapon does waste less energy, but you don't get any energy back. Your energy does not even replenish between waves. I'm beginning to think that this game was created in a way that no one would be able to beat it. You can attack enemies without any weapons, but the amount of energy you lose makes it not worth it, which would be a neat mechanic to create tension if it wasn't for the overall annoyances of the energy system that we just went through. When you attack, there's no animation or feedback of any kind except for the enemy dying, I guess. For a few seconds there, when I was playing this for the first time, I thought my fire button was broken or something. Not to mention that when you kill enemies, sometimes you still get hit for no apparent reason. When regular enemies touch you, all they do is drain your energy until you die. But if the Evil Dead spirit, which is represented by this weird sentient electrical ball of energy, touches you, that's a one-hit kill. You have 3 lives and that's it. Your buddies will walk around the house like headless chickens, sometimes even walking directly at the enemy, displaying no AI whatsoever. Wait, what the f***? Did I just kill one of my buddies by opening a freaking door? What the hell, game? Weapons appear and disappear without apparent rhyme or reason. Even weapons you're holding will eventually disappear without warning, which sucks, especially if you're in the middle of fighting a bunch of enemies.
What the?
It would be nice to have a timer or a bar or something to let us know when to expect it to disappear. Not to mention that in one of my runs, weapons just stopped spawning, period. But bugs like this are to be expected from a game from... What the f*** game? Closing doors and windows also doesn't seem to do much of anything. It's supposed to prevent enemies from coming in for a while, but I've seen enemies spawning inside the house right in front of closed doors. So I don't think it works as intended. God damn it, game! I can't take this anymore. This game's design is just terrible. There are way too many problems for such a simple premise. I did not finish it, and I'm honestly not even sure if that is possible. There's also no music to speak of, there's just a tune that plays during the tutorial, and it's okay, I guess. Such a good franchise turned into such a lackluster game. It makes me sad. Halloween for the 2600 was a better adaptation than this. I give The Evil Dead on the Commodore 64 1 star out of 5, with a survival horror fan required play score of... hell no. Okay, now we are past the old crude graphics of yore. Dr. Chaos, released in 1988 for the NES and was developed by Marionette. First of all, I have to say I was not expecting a platformer for a horror game. Well, horror-themed at least. This seems cool, you move around the house and... whoa! It just turned into a point-and-click adventure game! What the hell? Such a cool idea. But is it well executed? Let's find out. The game tells a story, which is non-existent within the game itself, of Dr. Gin, Chaos, something like that, I'm gonna say Jin, a mad scientist who likes to do secret experiments in his mansion, secluded from society. He creates something called the interdimensional warp gate, which gives access to other worlds. His younger brother, Michael, decides to visit him, but upon entering the house realizes that Jin is missing. Oh, and the mansion is filled with monsters and wild rats and bats. No biggie. So, you know, as Michael, you must survive the dangers of the mansion and travel through different worlds with the aid of the interdimensional warp gate to find all the pieces of some laser weapon in order to find your brother. As I said before, the main gimmick of this game is that it mixes platforming action with point-and-click adventure. You walk around the mansion as you would any other platforming game, move left and right, up and down the stairs with the D-pad, jump with the A button, and attack enemies with the B button. You can also change weapons by pressing select. Yes, you have 4 different weapons to choose from, but we'll get into that in a little bit. Oh, you can also crouch attack, which is essential for these dumb rats over here. When you enter any room by pressing up on the D-pad, The game changes into first person, and you can move around the cursor with the D-pad to interact with the objects in the room like you would in any other point-and-click game. You interact with the environment using the A button, and when you hold the B button, you can use the D-pad up and down to choose which interaction command is active. You have 4 different commands: open, get, go, and hit. Open is used to, open doors and cabinets and closets and windows. Get is used to grab items like ammo or health potions. Go is used to go through doors or into war points. And finally, hit is used to hit everything around the environment like a wacko, which might reveal hidden objects or passages. For example, let me use the command open to open this door and... What the f*** is that? Yeah, so a huge gorilla thing just came through the door and attacked me. Surprise monsters, as I like to call them, have a chance to appear whenever you open a door or a closet, and they boot you out into the corridor. Our friend Gorilla here, for some reason, slows down your walk speed when you're back at the hallway until you beat it. I don't know why. Because the other surprise monsters don't seem to cause this. You are permanently banned from entering any other room while the monster lives, so you need to get rid of it first. Besides our big gorilla friend, there's the big lady and the Omen, who looks very smart wearing his glasses. I gotta admit, they really did surprise me a couple of times. It really injects some intensity into the game, especially during the point-and-click adventure segments where nothing else happens and there's no other enemies to speak of. It is a really neat addition. Alright, now on to the weapons. You've got a knife, a gun, a machine gun, and some grenades. Weren't you supposed to be visiting your older brother? Why did you bring such an arsenal? Maybe this type of thing happened before. It's hard to have an antisocial mad scientist as a brother. The knife has a delay to it, and it took me quite a while to get used to it. In fact, during my first half hour, I avoided using it as much as possible in favor of the handgun. The handgun works as you'd expect. It shoots a bullet in the direction you are facing. The regular enemies die with one hit of either the knife or the gun. Unlike the handgun though, the knife has infinite uses, while the handgun and every other weapon consumes ammo. You can find ammo lying around the rooms of the house in vast quantities, but you should save them for when you get into the war points. The machine gun works much like the handgun, albeit with a higher fire rate and damage. You can easily use it as a handgun by quickly tapping the button instead of holding, which makes some of the special enemies a lot easier to deal with. As for the grenade, it damages everything on screen when it explodes, and I do mean everything, you included. The damage is not that big, so it might be a good way to clear the screen of enemies in tight situations. Well, that would be the case if all the regular enemies didn't freaking respawn. Seriously, you can kill every regular enemy in this game and they will start respawning right in front of you immediately, unless you are standing very close to the spawn point. Which brings me back to my previous advice: save ammo. Learn how to use a knife to deal with normal enemies. Much better. To progress in the game, you must find all the war points, which could be hidden anywhere on the map. Entering a war point will take you to another world, which is essentially an average platforming level. These levels are not particularly well designed, to be fair. Most of them rely on you staying on the higher path, and if you fall, you must backtrack to the beginning of the way and try again. These levels use mostly new enemies that you cannot find in a house, except for the bats. There's one special enemy in particular that is incredibly annoying, and that's this flying blue skeleton elephant looking thing over here. Its movements seem to have no rhyme or reason. It's impossible to predict where it will move to, and it moves at almost the same speed as you, which makes it practically impossible to dodge at times. I hate these so much. When you reach the end of these stages, you will fight a boss. Most bosses are quite dull and don't offer much of a challenge. Some of them are super cheap and rely on the game giving you extra health points so you can take the hits instead of being well balanced. After disposing of the boss, the game rewards you with a piece of the laser and some other item, either an equipment piece, a red vitamin, or a blue vitamin. There are 3 equipment pieces: the jump boots, which make you jump higher by holding the jump button, the air helmet, which helps you breathe underwater and is essential to get past some of the stages, and the shield suit, which cuts the damage you take in half. Then there are 4 red vitamins to find, which essentially work as extra health bars with extra 100 health points, and the blue vitamins, which replenish 100 health points. Upon picking up your rewards, you are rewarded with the task of backtracking through the same stage again. Yeah, I wish I was joking. I guess they wanted to stretch the gameplay time as much as possible, so you better make sure that you still have some ammo left, or that you are very good with that knife of yours. Alright, so here's how the main loop of the game goes. Go around the house, stocking up on ammo and health, enter the next warp point, go through the stage, defeat the boss and grab the laser part, backtrack through the level again, and repeat. It's boring. The mansion resets every time you come back from a warp point, so you have to go through the same rooms with the same items in the same places over and over again just to prepare for the next warp point. And speaking of warp points, in order to find them, you must use a machine that activates whenever you are in the presence of one. The problem is that this machine is a reward for killing one of the bosses, which means that you have to go through the whole house trying to go through every window and closet at random. It's stupid, and I'm sure many people who played the game back then were lost without knowing what to do. Hell, I had to look at a guide. There, I said it. I had to look at a guide because it was really pissing me off. The music and sound effects are actually not that bad. I do dislike that the music restarts every time you enter a new room when exploring the house. But I did get the point and click segment song stuck in my head for a while. And the theme song is pretty good too. So here's the breakdown. The platforming sucks. The controls feel stiff. You cannot change direction mid-air to attack certain enemies, and it's very easy to get stuck in a damaging loop. The point-and-click segments get really boring really quick because all the rooms look the same and have the same things in them. Not to mention that you have to go through the same rooms over and over again between warp points. I did beat the game, it's not particularly long. It took me 3 hours to beat the 11 warp points, and I probably wasted a lot of that time trying to find the first warp point because I didn't have the stupid machine, so I had to use a guide like I said before. The last boss was also a disappointment. It was incredibly easy to beat. Maybe they wanted you to think that you became super powerful because you found all the pieces of the laser, but it just feels so easy, it's not even fun. Overall, I think this game is a really great idea executed poorly. It's not horrible, but it's not good either. I give Dr. Chaos for the NES 2 stars out of 5, with a survival horror fan required play score of no. I do recommend that you try the game if the gameplay premise seems interesting to you, but there's nothing horror about it, to be honest. And that concludes the second episode of Retro Horror Games Quest. I hope it has been to your liking so far. If you like the series, please remember to like, comment and subscribe, it really helps me. Remember to hit that bell as well if you want to get notified whenever a new episode comes out. I would also like to thank my Patreon supporters, who you can see on the screen right now, for all the support they have given me. There will be a new development diary for my survival horror game, Into Dust, coming out tomorrow, so don't miss that. The next episode of Retro Horror Games Quest will be released in 2 weeks and will also feature 2 games. After that episode, new episodes will most likely come every 3 weeks, but I'm still working a little bit on the schedule. And they will feature 1 game each instead of multiple games, well, unless it makes sense to bundle them up in one. But from here on out, that doesn't happen as much. Thank you once again for getting scared with me tonight, and I hope to see you in the next episode of Retro Horror Games Quest. Good night.